Lori again, and welcome back to my kitchen. Hey, I'm telling you, spring has finally sprung here in the state of Minnesota, and we are busy scurrying around and doing everything imaginable that you can think of. We are trying to get things into the garden. We are breeding rabbits and hatching chicks and putting up fences, and I have been out foraging wild foods. And foraging wild foods today is the subject. I am not in my kitchen today. I am getting ready to go and do some wild foraging. We have had terrible heavy rains, and you can see that the maple trees have even dropped all of their little spring things that come out of the trees. Everything is wet and miserable. But I am going to head out between raindrops here and see if I can't find some goodies in the yard. So come along with me and let's do some foraging. So this particular area that I came upon is actually really concentrated with all of the things that I'm looking for today. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them. What I'm foraging today is wild violets, and I'm also going to be foraging dandelions. So with the wild violets, what I do is I literally just pick these little flower heads, all right? The little purple flower heads. Now these come in yellow, and we do have yellow also. But what I do is I just snip off just the flower heads. These are wonderful for jelly, for tea. I'm going to dehydrate these for tea. So I'm just going to snip off every little purple flower head that I can find. Dropped one there on the ground. I got to get him. I've got a wonderful little basket here that I'm putting them in. Just any little tiny violet that I find, I'm just going to snip right off and get that into my basket. Now, as far as the dandelions are concerned, there are so many things that you can do with dandelions. Every single part of this plant is usable, okay? And dandelions are so good for us. They're nutritious. They're packed full of so many vitamins and good stuff. And there's a couple of different things that I do. Now, dandelion petals, these yellow flowers, you can use these for jelly, dandelion jelly. You can make what's called dandelion honey. You can also air dry these for hot tea. So I'm going to just do the same thing as what I did with the violets and just snip off just that flower head. Okay? No stem, just the flower head. And I'm going to put that in a little basket. Pick a couple more of these and put them in. And I'm going to harvest those wonderful yellow petals. Okay? And these are wonderful too. These little pre-flower buds can be made into dandelion capers. All right, so I pick all of those little tiny, tight flower buds that have not blossomed yet. All right, pick those things too because those are amazing. All right, and I'll show you what I do with these later on also. But I'm just going to keep harvesting all of my violets and my dandelions, and I'll come back when I'm in the kitchen and show you exactly what it is that I do with these wonderful things. All right, so for our dandelion capers, these are the very young, unblossomed flower buds. All right, so these have not opened yet, and the younger and the tighter that you can get them, the better. So I've harvested a whole bunch of them, and now all I'm doing is just rinsing them off really well with fresh water. Now, the general knowledge about dandelions being an amazing power food is becoming more and more well known. The entire dandelion is consumable and useful to us, from the little yellow blossom petals to the greens of the plants and down to the roots of the plants. You can make dandelion jelly, you can make dandelion tea, you can make dandelion coffee. But what I'd like to share today is actually a recipe that I learned from Amber May in the Snug group on Facebook. That's SNUG, Canning to Preserve Our Future. I learned about this recipe from Amber a couple of years ago, and every single spring I just keep increasing more and more and more jars of what I'm going to share with you. And what I'd like to share with you today is dandelion capers. Now, dandelion capers are a pickled food item, and what you use is you use these little tiny unbloomed flower heads. Okay, so these are the blossoms before, these are the flower buds before the dandelion has bloomed into this wonderful yellow flower. Okay, and the younger and the tighter that you can harvest these, the better. Now, I do prefer not to have a whole lot of stem on there. I'll see if I can't get this pictured. Get all these little green thingies down. Okay, I do have a little bit of stem on this one, but I do prefer not to have any stem on them at all. And they come in all sorts of sizes, as you can see. And I just go crazy harvesting these things because I absolutely adore them. Thank you so much, Amber, for introducing me to them. And I would like to share with you her recipe and method of canning dandelion capers. Now, I've made just a little modification to the recipe because that's what I do. I don't like to heat process my dandelion capers. I choose to open kettle can them. And open kettle canning is a method of canning pickled or high sugar items where you don't follow up with a hot water bath process to seal the jar. Just what you do is you use a sanitized jar, and it's really important when you're open kettle canning any item to have a sanitized jar, a hot lid, a hot ring, and hot brine. Okay, so I have harvested all of my dandelion flower buds, and I've rinsed them off really well. And I'm going to page down just a little bit here in my canner, and you can see the guys are sitting back there at the table. They're harvesting dandelion flower petals is what they're doing right now. Anyway, thank heavens I have help at this point in time of the spring. Anyway, so I'm going to page down here. What I have is I have my jars, my lids, and my rings all sanitizing in my canner. And I have brought to a boil, like literally a boil, I have brought to a boil my brine. And the brine just simply consists of 1 cup of apple cider vinegar and 1 tablespoon of salt. Now that salt should either be canning salt or kosher salt. Of course, you all know that I prefer to use the pink fine ground Himalayan salt, and so I cut my salt in half to 1 1/2 teaspoon per 1 cup of vinegar. Now we're not diluting this at all with water. We are using just undiluted apple cider vinegar and salt, okay? And for a 1 pint jar, you will need 1 cup of vinegar. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I get this done, if I can find all my goodies here. So I'm going to take a sanitized jar out of my canner, get all that water drained out. And I think I need to just page down a little bit more so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. All right, so I have my hot jar, and I'm just gonna pack my clean dandelion buds, flower buds, into this hot jar. Now you can press them in just a little bit. You don't want to compact them too hard, but press them in just a little bit and get them to that 1-inch headspace, okay? Which is at the very bottom of your screw-on threads of the jar where that glass lip of the jar is. So pack them into the 1-inch headspace. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and you're going to fill with your apple cider vinegar and salt boiling hot brine to that same 1-inch headspace. And that vinegar is going to choke me. Oh my goodness. Hot boiling vinegar always gets me. But go ahead and fill that to that same 1-inch headspace and work as quickly as you can, okay? Go ahead and wipe the rim of that jar. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take a hot sanitized flat lid and ring and screw that on there just a little bit more than fingertip tight, and you are done. That is open kettle canning. Sanitized jar, sanitized and hot jar. Drain that. Pack it as quickly as you can with your food item, which in this case are these dandelion flower buds. Go ahead and compress them just a little bit. You don't want to pack them too tight, but go ahead and you know, kind of press them in just a little bit to that 1-inch headspace. And then get that boiling hot brine right in over the top. Working as quickly as you can and up to that same 1-inch headspace. Quickly wipe the rim of your jar and place that hot lid and ring to just a little bit more than fingertip tight, okay? Ouch, hot, 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 guys. And set that aside. All right, let's do one more. Hot sanitized jar. Dandelion flower buds. I think we're going to be able to fit all the rest of them in there. Yep, we're good to go. And then get that hot boiling brine right in over the top of those. Wipe that rim of the jar and place that hot lid and ring to a little bit more than fingertip tight and set it aside. Now, these will seal as they cool and they will be shelf stable. This is undiluted vinegar, and this is also called open kettle canning. Now, open kettle canning, let me turn my all my heat off here. Open kettle canning can only be used for a very small list of food items, and anything pickled can be done via open kettle canning. And so, since these are pickled dandelion buds, we can open kettle these with that hot boiling vinegar brine. So I'm going to grab a last year's jar of dandelion capers out of the refrigerator. I'm going to show you what these things look like. I should have had these out ahead of time, but these are the finished product. Dandelion capers. I love these things. I absolutely adore them. I eat them on salads. I put them on sandwiches. I have even, if you have ever heard of what Lutheran sushi is, Lutheran sushi here in Minnesota is a very thin slice of ham, and then you put a very thin layer of cream cheese on, and then you put a pickle spear in there and you roll it up, and that's called Lutheran sushi. And I have even replaced sometimes the pickle spear. Instead of using a pickle spear, I use my pickled dandelion capers. These things are so yummy. They're sour, they're salty. There is just a little tiny touch of bitterness, and you are always going to have that with anything that involves the green parts of dandelion, but it's not objectionable at all. And these things are packed full of good nutrition. Really, really beneficial. So that is Amber May's recipe, and that is how easy it is. The hardest part of this thing is going out and actually harvesting all those little flower buds, because you're bent over forever just searching for the little flower buds. But that honestly is the hardest part. Everything else from there is easy peasy, and these things are seriously amazing, amazing. I hope you try them in your kitchen. Thank you so much for spending your time again with me today. God bless you all, and happy canning, everybody.